Hello music makers, welcome back. We're finally doing it. Ray by Arm. I was about to use the term hidden gem, but that almost feels disrespectful. After all, there was a time when every DJ seemed to have it in their set. This track is a masterclass in hypnotic melody. I mentioned I wanted to look at this track years ago, and I still get comments asking where the video is. So why has it taken me so long? Well, to be honest, I was kind of scared. I didn't actually understand it. That is until I sat down to study it for this video. And it turns out, when you break it down, there's only really two main, fairly simple concepts that make up these hypnotic melodies. And whether you're doing house, trance, techno, drum and bass, I think we can all learn something from it. So let's have a look, shall we? Okay, so the first technique is a thing called syncopation. You can think about this concept as offbeats as opposed to onbeats. Let's look at a simple example. The pluck here is playing eighth notes. The whole bar is 1 bar long, and as is most typical, the bar is broken up into 16ths. So the pluck part is playing 1 every other 16th, so 8 notes in the bar, thus eighths. Right now, they're playing on the beat. This rhythm might sometimes be referred to as straight. You might call these straight eighths. Now, if I shift all these 1 to the right, they're now off the beat. This is syncopation, the opposite of straight. Now, a fully syncopated part can sound quite awkward because it never really lands. However, as you might imagine, this rhythmic technique doesn't have to be all or nothing. We can have a mixture of both, some on, some off. And of course, there doesn't have to be 8 notes. I've only done that so it's easier to keep track of what was on and what was off. But this type of pattern is common as well. Regulars of the channel may remember me talking about this, how most patterns in dance music are made up of these gaps of either 2 or 3. With just those 2, you can make almost anything. Anyway, so back to Ray. Part of Ray's hypnotic formula comes from this type of pattern, where some are on and some are off. However, that's not the whole story. It doesn't become truly hypnotic until the second technique, combining syncopation with polymeter. I'm not going to combine both techniques at once. Let's look at the second technique on its own first. The second technique is something called polymeter. So polymeter is just basically weird loop lengths. Let's start with a simple line like this. Also 8 notes in rhythm, and we're just running up and down the first 5 notes of the scale. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 4, 3, 2. The scale or the notes chosen don't actually matter. It's just much easier to show this while there's changing pitch. So all polymeter means is multiple meters, multiple times. Time meaning our time signature, this bit up here. The bit you'll rarely ever touch. 4/4, 4 quarters, 4 kick drums, 4 on the floor. However you want to describe it. What our whole timing grid is based on. Most music, especially dance music, is made in 4/4. Unless we're going really far back to older dance music like the waltz, for example, which had 3 beats in a bar. That was in 3/4. But no, typically today, most things are in 4/4, including the beat playing in the background right now. Our drums are in 4/4. And not just by deleting a note and leaving a gap. I mean actually chop off the time as well. So, instead of 1 bar of 4/4, we now only have 7 eighth notes left. So this would now become a bar of 7/8. Very unusual, very trippy. However, if I put this back against our beat that's still in 4/4, now we have 2 parts, drums and melody, on 2 different loop lengths, 2 different time signatures, or meters. Therefore, this is polymeter. Now, to show you how Ray does this, I need to make it slightly weirder. We need to make it more odd. And I mean that literally, an odd number of 16ths, in fact. So instead of taking a whole eighth off, I'll just take 1/16th off this bar. So the meter or time signature of this bar would now be 15/16. Super trippy. But we're not done yet. We're still yet to combine the 2 techniques. If I just take these last four, move everything one to the left, so those are syncopated now. Now listen carefully to what happens to the on-beat half and the off-beat half. Now, every other rotation, the notes that used to be on the beat are now off the beat, and the ones that were off the beat are now on. Super trippy. If this were a better melody, you'd be hypnotized already, admit it. Now, if it helps you visually, instead of watching the loop, I can print this melody for a certain number of bars, and you can see what's changing over time. Now you can see versus a normal grid, a normal 4/4 time signature of our beat here, you can see which notes are falling on and off. Anyway, those are the principles. Instead of staring at that like we've had too many shrooms, let's actually look at the melody of Ray. So, Ray's melody doesn't use a 15/16. That was just a simple example to show you. And in fact, it took me a little while to work out. The first thing I tried is putting the bass note on each of the melody hits. Now, if you didn't know, the original bass is on this simple rhythm. It's not a polymeter. In fact, it's the same rhythm as the toms. It's all in 4/4. So I just wanted to see the rhythm without any of the different notes. See if I could spot any patterns. So I basically mapped the bass to the melody hits so I could hear them at the same time. I've also changed the bass sound, by the way, just to make it easier to hear. And I couldn't really find a pattern. We've got groupings of 2s, 3s, 4s and 5s, but not in any seemingly repeating order. So I moved on to looking at pitch patterns. Were there any repeated pitches at certain intervals? I found that these two pitches are repeated a lot. Notes 6 and 5, an eighth apart from each other. But the distancing between each of the pairs kept changing. So again, I couldn't find a pattern there. But then I spotted this. This whole phrase is repeated quite a lot in the melody. Now we're getting somewhere. You might notice looking at it this way, another pattern also emerges. In between each of these phrases, first of all is one interrupting phrase, and then two interrupting phrases. One interrupting phrase, and then two. And upon measuring this total 5-phrase pattern, we get a recurring length. Are you sitting down? Ray's melody is on a rotation of 59/16. Wowza! Just to check, I took 59/16 worth of that bass rhythm and copied it under itself, and you can see it does line up. There are a couple of extra cheeky notes on the second rotation. It kind of slips a few in there as a variation, but overall, that's the loop. After figuring that out, I did spot a simpler pattern. When I was looking at the bass earlier on one note, all those groupings of 2s, 3s and 4s didn't seem to have any rhyme or reason. But if you mark every phrase of the melody every time it resets to a high note, you get this pattern, 2 and 3, with a grouping of 2 and 4 on the fourth phrase of the 5 in the total loop. So this time I did the bass again, but changed pitch every time the phrase reset. So you can see the groupings a lot clearer. And there we have it. That is the mysterious rhythm of Ray, finally decoded. But what's the lesson here? What can you take away from this? What can you do if you wanted to make this at home, as it were? Does it have to be a ridiculous length, like 59? That's what she said. Does it have to use those ghost chords, which I mentioned in my last melody tutorial? Does it even have to be techno? I say no, no, and no. In fact, I have overcomplicated it slightly. You may have noticed that Ray wasn't really a true polymeter because, yes, the phrase is 59/16 long, but they do reset it every 8 bars. It doesn't just go forever on that 59 loop. So, not true polymeter. Doesn't have to be that complicated. Let's make a super simple example. Here's a typical modern tech house style thing. I've got this acid sound here. Let's take the really simple tom/bass rhythm from Ray. It's just this, half a bar long. Rhythmically, this is all we need. The first half is on beat, the second half is off beat. 2 on, 1 off. Acid sounds always make me want to use random notes, much like the sequences you would end up with if you tried to program a real 303. I'm going to keep one of the notes on G, because that's the key of this bass, and then let's roll a D12 for 2 other random ones. Okay, we got 9 and 8. Come back to our line here, move that up by 9, and then this one by 8. Okay, now let's chop a 16th off. There we go. Doesn't have to be any more complicated than that. Sure, you could take it further, like every 5 repeats you add a 16th back in or something, but that's up to you. Now you have the knowledge, you have the power. Give it a try, let me know how it goes. By the way, if you wanted to know more about the note choices, I discussed those in my melody video about catchy versus complicated. Go check it out. And as always, I hope you learned something. If you did, you know what to do. Press some buttons to help me out. If you're feeling extra generous, there's a link in the description to buy me a coffee. And until next week, I will see you down there in the comments. Bye-bye.